Hey guys, Joe with ProFlight Trainer back with another video. And this time we are obviously sitting inside the back seat of an H64 Apache. This is the DCS H64D, and I'm going to give you guys some of my first impressions of this model. This isn't going to be a full accuracy flight test for a lot of reasons. Biggest one being it's an unfinished product. This module is not finished. It's incomplete. Um, it's still in its early access. So there's a lot of features that haven't been implemented, and we're going to recognize that up front. So we're not going to pick it apart too badly, but we're just going to have a look at how it is now, how it stands, and just my opinion on it. If you guys are new to the channel and you don't know much about me, one, check out the other videos. Two, I do have some familiarity with the H64. I've been flying it since 2005, and I've been with this aircraft virtually all my Army career, so I'm pretty familiar with it. So we're not going to get into any like super detailed type systems knowledge. This is going to be very, very top level. Um, Nothing past what you would expect from a home use flight simulator. Okay, so I'm not going to dig too deep into systems capabilities um, or anything like that. We're just looking at this from a hobbyist point of view. All right, so let's have a look here at the cockpit. First, my first impression of this cockpit is that it is very, very well done. So just the overall uh, layout, the scale is accurate. And they got a lot of the little details right. So this cockpit configuration, it's kind of dated even for a D model. So there's some systems here you see that are, well, there's like the main thing here, like this box here. I haven't seen one of these boxes since like maybe 2012, 2013. So it's been a while since we've had that guy in the cockpit. Um, there's some, for the most part, the rest of the cockpit looks pretty good. The thing that I really love about it is the details that they have. So, like if you look in the front seat, in the glare on the EUFD there, you can see like fingerprints. that's that's actually pretty awesome. And I'm pretty sure there's fingerprints on the one up here too, and the MPDs. You can see lots of wear marks here. That's really cool and accurate. You can see down here. So the wear is about where you think it is. So those cool little details are pretty awesome. When it comes to details that they're lacking, and I'm pretty sure I know why they didn't put those in here. So like one thing is these windshields are all way too clean. These windshields are all crystal clear, and the blast shield. The blast shield is crystal clear. Um, Even aircraft, I've picked up brand new Apaches from the factory at Mesa and didn't have canopies this clear. So if I had one complaint about the cockpit modeling is that that's he's a little too clean, guys. And it would probably drive most simmers crazy because I think you guys hate that. So if they had like pit marks from doing dust landings or grime or dust from operating out in the field, um, it would probably annoy you guys and you get on the forums immediately and start complaining about it. But that's how this aircraft actually is. This aircraft, it works, so it gets dirty. So having a super clean canopy is not really all that common. Another thing I notice is that this guy here, this guy doesn't work. You have to close the canopy from the handle as a touch point. So I'm zoomed out a little bit. Oh, whatever. I'm zoomed out a little bit just so we can see more of the cockpit. But really, even then, um, that's really too far to reach out to close the canopy. You can do that. You can do it from that handle. And you can open and close it from that handle. But when you're sitting in the seat strapped in, unless you have like super long arms, you're not going to reach that. That's why we have this little button up here. It's actually a little lever and you would use that to release it and have it swing down, and you can close the canopy for there. So this doesn't work, which is kind of weird. But the animation here, that's pretty awesome, and how that folds up, that's pretty much all correct. And all this tubing is right. Um, this is all really well done. I can see the SSUs back there. SSUs are nice and clean. It's cool. Um, and circuit breaker panel, HPSMs. This is all pretty good. So the overall layout of the cockpit is done really well. And we'll step into the front seat here and have a look there. Get that HDU out of the way for now. And we'll step back a little. Actually, I can't step back in this one, but the front seat looks just as good. Well, some of the buttons on the TDAC handles, the textures on those are a little less refined and on the TDAC itself. But for the most part, they're really good. Comm panel, all this looks good, and it's accurate. So it avoids some of the duplication issues like we had in the Huey. And the mirror works. And pretty sure that's not what I looked like when I was sitting in the back seat. So like they got this little detail right. The power lever quadrant in the front seat is a little different than it is in the back. So that's pretty cool. One thing that is weird is the cyclic here. Cyclic is stowed where it can be, but in DCS you can only unstow it when you're taking control from the guy in the back seat, which is not accurate. Typically, this comes up and it stays up, but you can see, the controls in the front seat are only active when the cyclic is extended, and then when I stow it, I'm moving the flight controls now. You guys can't see me, obviously, but they don't move. So that's kind of that's inaccurate, but that's okay. That's not really. I mean, I guess they had to have some way to show that you were flying and you weren't. I guess, but that's not really how we do it in the actual aircraft. So, but other than that, front seat looks really good. And we'll go back to the back seat. All right. So overall, really well done. We'll crank the battery here. Oops. All right. So again, this software is pretty old. I haven't seen this software in a very long time. But for the most part, it looks pretty similar. They got the fonts right. Some of the writing's a little small, but it's okay. But for the most part, this is pretty representative. You don't get that message often, but sometimes that does come up. The sounds here are. Let's do a quick press to test. All right, that looks good. The sounds are really good, actually. I didn't have any complaints about the sounds that they used for this. And and then we can do a fire detector test.
Fire. Engine 2 fire. APU fire.
Yeah, these are all.
Engine 1 fire.
These sound almost exactly like they're supposed to. Oops.
Engine 1 fire. Engine 2 fire.
Yeah, and that works pretty well. So the APU sounds just like it's supposed to. We got good messages up here.
Hydraulic failure.
So looking at the MPDs, and it is NPD, not MFD. I'm not mispronouncing that. Multi-purpose display. We'll zoom out just a little bit. So some of you can tell here, right away that this is an early access module because a lot of the features that we would use in an actual aircraft aren't applicable, or not applicable, but available. So, like this page is virtually useless. Um, so the startup on this model is pretty basic and incomplete. So it's like the bare minimum to get the aircraft up in the air. So there's a lot of checks that you can't do. Um, there's a lot of there's just a lot of stuff that has been left out or has yet to be done. And since it's an early access model, I don't know which one that is. So I'm not really going to comment on it. And to be perfectly honest, I really wasn't going to comment it on anyway. But there is a lot of stuff that is missing that you can't really do. Um, Looking at the perf page, uh, some of these numbers are right, some of them aren't. Yeah, and you don't have a CG there. Well, let's see. We can put some stuff on the weight page. See if we can get that CG to come in. Actually, you know what? This isn't going to work because I don't have weight and moment memorized. We'll see. So, yeah, I don't have the proper weight, moment to put in there, so I won't be able to do that anyway. But just looking at some of these, I have a feeling even if I did put that in, there's just looking at some of the numbers on here. Yeah. Uh, hmm. Yeah, there's some things that we probably should be there and that aren't, but that's all right. Not a big deal uh, for most of you guys. This page looks pretty good. I'm gonna do a quick test here. Yep. So FMC disengage button works. That's good. Um, Fuel page. Okay, so some things we can't do. TSD page is okay. Most of the features here are functional. Um, I haven't tested all of these because that would take forever. But I have been able to put in points the way I usually would. Let's see what we got. A position update. Okay. This seems to be functional. Uh, so yeah, most of these pages are good. The one complaint I have is maps. You seem to be limited to just the DCS maps. Um, but again, early access, so we're not going to beat them up too bad. And you don't have oh, it does give you a sat map option. That's cool. Hey, cool. All right, so we got maps for Nevada, so that's cool. Uh, we don't have all the scales that we would normally use, but that's not. Hey, that's better than nothing. We'll take it. Let's see what kind of color banding we got. Okay, cool. None. Whatever. Early access. Um, so a couple of things I'd noticed when I was playing with this, looking at the engine page now. Um, I don't remember when that went away, or if it was ever really like. I'm pretty sure we had algorithms and coding that got rid of ambient temperature being shown on TGTs, but I don't remember. It's been a while since I've had this software. Um, but going to override typically would not drive that up. but again, that might have been an algorithm thing with. And here's another thing I noticed when I take override off. So this to me, how it's staying here at 21% NG, even with the starter disengaged, uh, that would signal a problem. Not quite a hang start, but that's kind of an issue. And oil PSI staying in the green like that, that's that's kind of weird. Um, make sure everything else is on. Okay. So I forgot what else I let's move on to some other things. Let's bring the HDU on. So credit where credit is due. They did a fantastic job with the HDU. This guy right here that's in my the helmet display unit. Uh, this is probably the best implementation of an HDU I've ever seen outside of an actual aircraft. So credit for that. Um, the symbology, however, is a little small. And when I say symbology, that means all the graphics and stuff. I'm trying not to poke myself in the eye here. That you see in your eye. That's a little bit small in scale. Um, and if you're an actual Apache guy, I'm going to show you what I mean as soon as I find that. Here we go. So if you've been through Fort Rucker at any time in the past, oh, I don't know, since Apache, you know what's wrong with this picture. Okay. You can adjust the sizing, but it just looks like this. So uh, there's really and it's you're playing a milsim game at your house. That's not that big a deal. So there's no reason to go grab your pitchforks and go shouting at somebody on the forums over that. Uh, bore sighting. So the BRU here, the bore sight reticle unit. This is I don't know what that is, but it's not the BRU symbology. All right, these moving googly eyed. I seriously don't know what that is, but that's not what the BRU symbology is supposed to look like. And I do have the good. I mean, they did get the primary light thing going, but yeah, what is that? I don't know what that is. It doesn't move like that. Um, it's it's the wrong shape. It's the wrong color. It's yeah, that's wildly inaccurate. I mean, it's neat, but it's not what the BRU looks like. Um, so good luck getting a solid helmet bore sight on that one. Uh, but otherwise, the symbology is pretty good. Um, it's got all the modes, and the modes are accurate for this software version. Again, this is an old software version, so there are some differences which you would see in a modern, not even an E model, just a modern D model. That's still in use. You're going to see some differences here in a U.S. Apache anyway. Some of the foreign military sales may be using older software similar to this, but nobody in the United States is. All right, so let's look at. Let's go ahead and crank the engines real quick and have a look at that. All right. Let's. Oh, this is an older light panel. Oops. Here we go. Everything else looks good. All right. So we'll start engine 1 first. Oh yeah, you can tell this is really old. Well, I mean, some of you guys can't. I can. I ain't supposed to be there. That these options haven't been there in this position for a very long time. All right. So the NG's back rising again. And again, that NG just stayed at 20% the entire time, even ever since I went to override. So that's indicative of a maintenance issue. These torque spikes, we used to have those, but I don't remember them being. Well, actually, that's kind of toned down a bit. So that's actually not that bad. We did have those. Later software versions on the D model got rid of that. All right, so the engine start sequence is pretty straightforward. I mean, it's not that much different than any other turbine engine, right? So you start your NG in this case. So if you're not familiar, NG is the same thing as N1 in other aircraft. So you get that going, start compressing air, and then you add fuel. You get ignition, which is when you see your TGT rise. And shortly after that, you should get your blades should start spinning. And your blades will start moving when you spool up NG in a free turbine engine like we have here. But all right, let's go ahead and put the power levers to fly. Oh, got to set the park brake. So for the most part, we're looking okay. We're looking pretty good in this model. I really don't. Well, we'll turn that on anyway. We don't need it for what we're doing today. I'm going to scoot back into my normal seating position. All right, let's get going. All right, so release the parking brake. So one thing about this, if you're using a Pro Flight Trainer, the collective is really sensitive. So it doesn't. The amount of pull you need with this collective compared to the actual aircraft is very, very little, and that's a hard thing to remember. All right, so we got the tail wheel unlocked. I'm just going to ground taxi over to this pad here. So this model is, I'm just going left and right here. I've got the, believe it or not, I've got the pedals toned down, but they're still kind of a little more sensitive than I think they should be. One thing that this model isn't, and I'm going to do some deliberate left and right turns here, it's not as, it's really stable in the roll axis when you're doing these big pedal inputs. So typically the aircraft will roll, and you can see it a little bit, but with this much pedal in, I would expect to see the aircraft leaning much more to the outside of that turn. So that's kind of weird. Not weird. That's just not what I'm used to. We'll put it that way. And we'll say it that way. Not what I'm used to. Okay. Go to this pad. Slip a little bit and lock the tail wheel. There we go. All right. So we're going to pick it up to a hover, and forgive me because this aircraft and my muscle, this model and my muscle memory from the actual aircraft don't quite line up. So I'm still trying to figure out a good way to get the cyclic to perform the way I would like it to at a hover. But because this aircraft is really stable. It's agile. It's very agile, but it's also very stable, and that's due to the FMC and the command augmentation system and the stability augmentation system. It makes this aircraft super easy to fly, and don't really feel like I've got that at a hover right now. And the control inputs are, I mean, it's not as familiar as I would like it to be. I mean, and I am taking into account a lot of things, right? So One, I don't have the force trim system. The cyclic is not the cyclic I'm using in the PFT isn't the same length as the one in the actual aircraft. And I'm not, in addition to the force trim system, I don't have a feel spring in here like I do in the actual aircraft. So taking all that into account, as far as feel goes, yeah, I acknowledge that part's going to be different. And I'm getting myself some pilot-induced oscillations here. I acknowledge that part's going to be different, but the actual control inputs required to get the aircraft to do what I want it to do, that part is where I see the discrepancy. So that's both in the mainly in the cyclic, but also in the pedals as well. So, and I acknowledge in the pedals I've got about a 25% curve in for the pedals. But even then, I find myself going full throw on the pedals to get the aircraft to do what I want. And in the actual aircraft, I'm never full throw on the pedals unless I'm about to run out, and I am doing that in this model regularly. So that is something that I kind of wish they would tweak. But you know what? It's not a horrible model as it is now. When it first came out, it wasn't anything that I would recognize as a helicopter, to be perfectly honest. It was the cyclic was crazy. I mean, way too sensitive, and that's annoying. Okay, so that SAS saturated message, I shouldn't get that right now. There's no reason I should get that. It's easy to make it go away. You just reset the force trim, but yeah, that probably shouldn't have got that message at this point. But everything else seems to be okay. In cruise flight, this model is okay. And I do say okay. So right now, I don't have any winds in on this scenario. Just don't remember putting any winds in. I'm flying in trim, and I should be pointing straight ahead. I shouldn't have any crab angle here. But as you can see, my flight path vector over there and the nose of the aircraft over here, and looking at that velocity vector, I've got a crab angle in to keep it in trim. With no winds, like zero winds, those should be aligned. So it looks like I'm crabbing into the wind, but there's no wind. So I don't know why that is. Again, that's annoying. I really shouldn't have that. If I had the hold modes on for too long, yeah, you'll get a SAS saturated message. So if I was rocking the hold modes, but I'm not. So there's really no reason for the SAS saturated message to come on. Perhaps that'll get fixed in a future update. Where's our windsock? I want to make sure I didn't put any winds in here. Oh, come on, Nella. So you got to have a windsock out here somewhere. I'm a little fast. That's all right. Really? Not a single windsock? Annoying. again, so I have to fly this differently than I do the next. Which, okay, yeah, of course. Um, there is some truth to that as far as a simulator or a simulated aircraft versus real aircraft, right? Because the see again, I'm full, almost full pedal just to get the nose around. Um, and I'm not sure that has much to do with the curves. Um, like the simulator we have in the army doesn't fly exactly like the actual aircraft does. So they're I mean I'm giving them some latitude here, and my critiques probably sound much more harsh than they actually are. Um, Especially with the flight model at this stage, because this is a huge improvement over what I had experienced when the model first came out. There isn't a single windsock out here. Can somebody find me a windsock? Oh, there's one. Um, so again, my critiques probably sound a little bit more harsh than they actually are, because I understand there's a difference between um, the real aircraft and this model, and there's a difference between the hardware and all that. I mean, that's not new, but um, I've never had a model where normal control inputs would induce the same kind of oscillations this one does. All right, so let's look. That looks light and variable to me. Yeah, it's a limp ass windsock. All right, so really looking at the winds, at least here on the ground, I don't think I put any winds aloft. I'll go check, and I'll put that in the notes. I'll probably put that in a title somewhere. Um, I don't think there's any winds aloft, so I don't. I usually don't do testing with any winds just to take out that variable, you know. So we shall see. But I have noticed that when testing the model, that I'm almost constantly crabbing. And again, here we go. I'm already crabbing, and I'm 150 feet off the ground, um, just to stay in trim. So not sure what that's all about. All right, we're gonna go hit waypoint 2 here, where I have some targets set up, and we'll check out the front seat, and we'll got a couple Hellfires up here. Yeah, Hellfires look pretty good. The 3D modeling on this is absolutely exquisite. I mean, it is extremely well done. This is probably the best Apache visual model I've ever seen on any simulator, uh, including some DoD simulators. This one is top notch. So kudos to the 3D artists who put this together. I credit where credit is due. Oh, I just noticed this. Check it out. The glare shield here is it's vibrating. That's pretty awesome. You know what's one thing that actually is missing, and I'm just being nitpicky now. There's no Velcro over here. So these guys here, these bat wings, well, they're bat wings. We call them bat wings. They're actually shades that you would pull up out of here, and then you would Velcro to the sides here. And that will keep your cockpit lighting from being visible from the outside. Another thing that's kind of unrealistic about this, again, getting really nitpicky, is that this Velcro is intact. This Velcro is almost always worn out. Man, those things are flopping all over the place. And these Batwings look like they're in great shape, like fantastic shape. Like everything else is worn. Like, are these brand new? Can you even get brand new? Like, what's the NSN for those? Oh, check it out. Yeah, this thing has a vibrating. That's pretty cool. And, you know, nice detail on this M4. I don't know who left the dust cover open, though. So let's do some Apache stuff here. Okay, there it is. So let's arm the aircraft. We'll do some IHADS shots. Annoying. Alright, good. So I have I'll shoot at this thing a little bit with IHADs. Should be more accurate when I'm shooting off the nose. Got a man range of 1500 meters, which is a little much. So azimuth looks good. Alright, it's not too bad. That's annoying. And these are all static, they're not going to shoot back. We're going to snap into the front seat. And let's have a look at what we got going on here. So we're going to site select TAS, we're going to bring the TDEC. Oops. Bring it to day. Oh, hush. Alright. So we are going to go through a few engagements here. So pilot's got the gun. I'm going to take the gun from the pilot. Step out of field of view. There's that BMP. Alright. So this does have an LMC. LMC is probably not going to do me much good right now. Oh, did I turn the laser on? I don't think I turned the laser on. Sure didn't. I don't know. So let's see. I need to store that rascal. And it didn't show up. Alright, got a good range. Let's just put a few rounds on this guy. Alright, pretty good. Give him some more. Now let's go back to that weapon page. Let's see. Nope, sure can't. So you probably could have tightened that shot up a little bit, but that'll work. Alright, look at him. Cool. Alright, let's shoot some missiles. So we've got missile codes look good. Direct, alright, good. I put some tanks out here. Just gotta find them. There they are. So one tank, two tanks. 7,000 meters. Let's see if we can hit it. All right. Oops. Let's shoot this one a little more. All right, it's good. Go back to the back seat. Oops, a little bit too much power there. Oh goodness, that's so annoying. Alright, so overall, I'd say they're heading in the right direction as far as this model goes. Again, my biggest issue with the flight model is just the cyclic inputs at a hover. It's just way too easy to over control. At least with a cyclic that's floor mounted like the PFT is. And I've only ever tried it with my Gen 5. So this model was released about the same time I got my Gen 5. and that was so I was really happy with it because, well, I was really happy with the Gen 5. I love my Gen 5 Puma. But the this it's just that that hovering cyclic input really bugs me. But other than that, everything else isn't really all that bad. It's fun. It's a fun model. I'll give them that. This is a. I mean, is the Army going to buy this to replace its LCT? Probably not. Um, at least not in this version, because we don't use the software anymore. But is it fun? Yeah. When I'm retired next year, will I enjoy this model when I'm feeling nostalgic? Absolutely. Um, I absolutely will. And it's really fun in multiplayer. Most of the testing I did for this when I wrote an article for Helisimmer, which is probably out by now. And you'll probably notice there's some of my observations that here will mirror what I wrote in that Helisimmer article, because I recorded this video and wrote that article about the same time. So you'll see some similarities in what I talked about. So overall, this model is not that bad. It's not like, am I gonna train myself up on this and then go down to my nearest army base, hop into 64 and go? Probably not. But is it enough to be really fun and really enjoyable? Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so I really wouldn't be too upset about any of the critiques I've had so far. And again, it's early access. It's early access. It's just, if we can get this cyclic input under control at a hover, it would be a much more enjoyable model. And look into that trim thing and that SAS saturated. Man, that's annoying. It's so annoying. But other than that, not a bad representation. Not a bad representation. I'll take it so far. So hopefully in the future, when this model is out of early access and it's in its release version, we'll do a full accuracy flight test on it and compare it to my memory of flying D models, which I've spent most of my career in D models, so it'll be just like going home, assuming it's done well. And we'll give this model a little bit more time to mature before we really dig in and pick it apart. But until then, check out some of the other videos on the channel. We've got a setup video, so if you have a PFT version 5, I put out a video that shares my settings for this model so far, and button assignments, and axes curves and things like that. And we've also got a video out for the just basic setup of the PFT Gen 5 in X-Plane, DCS, and Microsoft Flight Simulator. So go and check those out if you're a fan of the channel, and then we'll see you guys next time.